doing this stream early, but since it is the Freedom Day for the Americans tomorrow, we were like, okay, let's just do it tonight because a lot of people are probably going to be busy shooting guns or eating eagles or whatever you weird Americans do.
Whoa. Eating eagles, dude. I would never desecrate such a noble, majestic creature like that.
Fine, teabagging eagles. I don't know. Like, y'all Americans are freaking weird. And honestly, us Canadians, like, all we do is, like, race beavers. That's basically it.
You come at us with the eagle thing, but you got that moose on your butt.
Only the antlers.
Alright.
Have you ever wondered if Willy Wonka is direct descendant of the witch from Hansel and Gretel? Hi, and welcome to Quickcast, a podcast between esports friends and their questionable collection of Steam games.
What does that mean?
Questionable. Oh, dude, I did just buy what's the dick jousting game?
Oh, genital jousting?
Yeah, I did just buy that, so it is questionable.
But genital jousting is pretty great. I want to buy that game, but I'm freaking poor as hell right now. And the first thing on my list is like Nier, so I'm like,
hold up, are we just gonna like gloss over this Willy Wonka intro? I'm really confused.
Okay, y'all know the Hansel and Gretel story, right? So basically, their parents are just like, "Yo, we fucked. Now we have twins. We can't take care of these twins, so we gonna leave them in the fucking forest." So they'll die. And so we don't have to take care of them anymore. So after that, Hansel and Gretel are just like, what the fuck, we lost. So they were like walking around and trying to be like, yo, we need somewhere to live. And then they come across this like candy house, a house made of like biscuits
I'm familiar with the story.
Okay. So the thing is, Willy Wonka made something exactly like that, where like objects are typically like you can't eat, like are edible, like as
you know who else? You know who else made like things that are edible that shouldn't be? The Japanese in that one video that I sent you guys.
Oh my
the whole room is like they're just like biting everything.
Austin's talking about this. I guess it's a Japanese game show where the producers or whatever created a bunch of items like a shoe, tables, doors, doorknobs, flower pots, whatever. And they made like half of them out of actual like edible candy. And then the other half were just the regular item. So these people were going around biting all these random things in this house, and either being very happy or very sadly surprised.
Especially that one guy who just bit the shoe and he's like, huh?
That's a good description of the face.
Okay, so I guess I'll move on to the question of the week. Are you guys excited about my question?
Woo! Bing!
You sound so unenthusiastic.
I was trying to make a noisemaker with my mouth, but I don't think it worked out very well.
Do a Vuvuzela.
Yeah, don't do that in just either of you don't bring that to your 4th of July celebrations. That's how you get shot, apparently, I think.
Anyways.
Yeah.
No, to get shot in America, you just have to be, like, going to a school. Honestly.
Or a minority.
Or a minority.
Yeah, or a minority.
Or a minority going to school.
That's the best way.
then that's when double tap comes in. You know.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Fuck you, America. Okay, my question for this week is, what is love? Okay, I'm joking. If Kirby swallowed you, what ability would he gain?
Ooh.
Oh, dear Lord.
Alright, do you want to start, Amber?
Yeah,
so
I'm going to start. I think if he gained, like, an Amber set of skills, it would be something like,
it's not a set of skills. You said one thing.
Fine.
Ability?
One thing. I was gonna say crippling depression.
Damn.
But
real.
but that is way too real. So I think we're gonna go with the ability to, like, I'll probably be like the chef Kirby, someone who cooks very well, and literally like would probably like have a weird AoE thing, or like whenever like I produce food, like when you play multiplayer in Kirby, like the other little other Kirby NPCs would like just gain a buff or something. It's probably what I would do, and then make them fight for me.
So
Well,
are you
I
thinking in terms of the Kirby games or like Super
Yep.
Smash Bros? Okay.
Kirby games, man.
Oh god.
Like, you know how in Kirby you can like in like some of the games when you play local, you can play with your friends, and they can typically take the ability that you have swallowed, and then yeah, I forgot the name.
Do we actually have to have actual abilities from the game? Because I like the last
No,
time
you
I played it.
don't.
Okay.
You don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Whew.
So that sounds pretty solid. It reminds me of his like Final Smash in Super Smash Bros, where like he gets a pot and he cooks all the other enemies in it.
Yeah, this is freaking Brawl's worst game, but like that was that was
Listen,
solid.
redeeming-
Listen, I had fun with Brawl, and anyone that tells me otherwise is wrong. Like, okay, maybe as a like a competitive game, but I think Brawl was definitely the funnest because people weren't like only flex, Final Destination, 3-stock, no like no gravity, only Pokeballs. You have to be Jewish to play the game, and you have like there's so many fucking rules, dude. Like, oh my god, it ruined the game for me. I just wanted to play all the items. I literally just wanted to play like all items, like max items, and then just like have fun with it. And everyone's like, "Nah, dude, we don't want to do that." And I was just
Okay,
so
honestly,
sad.
the best like custom like Smash mode I've ever played was 2000% damage maximum knockback and no items, but like like the highest amount of spawn you can have for like an item and only having Master Balls and Pokeballs.
Oh,
Yes, I've done that. I actually used to do that. I called it Pokemon battles with my sister.
It was
We'd,
horrible.
like, set the item drop rate to the maximum. Just have like the Pokeballs. Sometimes we throw in assist trophies, but it'd be like we used to do that where we weren't allowed to hit each other, and we could only win via Pokemon.
Oh damn!
God.
The best mode I played was we turned all like the damage multipliers up and like the starting like health really low or really high, and basically you could only choose pit and you can only shoot arrows, and when you shot someone with an arrow you fly off the map, and it almost always kills you. So you have to like, and with pit in that game you had to like control the arrows so you could like go all the way around the map and hit him from behind. It was so epic, dude.
Oh,
It was pretty awesome.
All right, but anyways, back to the question of the week. I think so. Have either of you guys seen Bobo?
Oh my god, yes.
Oh no.
It's it's an anime where there's this guy and he has these long nose hairs that he can control like whips, and they're like
What the
prehensile.
Weird kind
I'm
of
not saying-
anime
no,
do you
okay.
watch?
It's so funny, but it's like as if you took a shit post and made it an anime. It's basically that.
Yeah.
But taking that concept with spaghetti noodles, because I really love pasta and spaghetti
As we
in
know.
particular. I mean, I had pasta for dinner yesterday. Had it for dinner today.
You always
Probably
have
not
this.
tomorrow because that's July 4th. But yeah, I think I'd be able to like shoot pasta, maybe even like Spider-Man like, and just like swing around the stage and like smack people with giant like pasta appendages.
What the heck?
I think we should just send you to Africa and then like you'll just solve world hunger.
Wait, that might be painful though. Like if I'm controlling these, aren't they like part of my body?
That's
Well, it doesn't really matter anyways because Kirby's swallowing you, so you lose all of your abilities anyways. You just
Oh,
turn into a
fuck.
fucking star.
Oh, I guess. Take it.
Rest in peace, Reza. You're
In
gonna
peace,
die.
or in like the bowels of a pink monster.
Oh my god. Oh look! One of our viewers did watch Boba. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Dude, this guy knows what's going on.
dude. That game
There
was
are-
like, oh god, or that anime. Like, Jesus Lord, I watched like 2 episodes and I just couldn't. Like, I couldn't deal with it. It was too much. Although I did recently.
I don't know how.
I did
Guys.
recently start watching Devil was a part timer.
Oh, that one is pretty good. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's
It's
kind of
pretty funny.
strange.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that he loses. Oh, never mind. I don't want to spoil it, but.
Well, it's like in the first episode.
Oh yeah,
he literally
true.
just loses his powers.
Yeah,
and
he loses
he's
his
like, "Oh,
powers.
I'm gonna go work at McDonald's.
But he
Bye.
uses like some of his like some of the last of his strength to fry French fries. Like what the? Because he works at a
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Sometimes just super hungry.
No,
Gotta
dude.
get something.
He wanted to be like the best in the region. Like his goal in the anime, literally, Satan is like working at a McDonald's, and he wants to like conquer the world by like working up the like chain of management at a McDonald's. It's like what the fuck.
Is
we
that
please
related
talk
to
about
what your
animes
power
when they
is?
like try to like escape copyright laws? Like they have the weirdest names.
Well, that's
Or,
just
like-
anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're in if you watch the Flash or like the Arrow series, they have Big Belly Burger. It's like
Jesus Christ.
So, Austin, is this a Fry Satan demonic power related to your Kirby swallowing?
absolutely
Oh,
not.
that- your
My
sound
my
is
Kirby
awful.
swallow might as well. It basically turns Kirby into Jigglypuff because all Kirby would be doing is fucking sleeping because that's my power. Like honestly, this Kirby would just be like down
It's
B,
game over.
down B, and fucking and smash. That's exactly what Kirby would do if he like. Basically, if he absorbed my power, he would lose. So like, I win.
Damn.
Just
You died.
honestly,
It's
I
just
wish.
like-
I wish he would take my ability to like sleep all the time away, because then I'd be more productive. To be honest.
Yeah, but then you'd be dead.
Yeah, I mean, I could still sleep, but like not like insanely.
No, I mean, if he ate you, you would die.
Oh, fair. Problem.
Yeah.
It's a little unfortunate.
Still a win-win situation.
Oh no.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Okay.
Loud screeching ensues. Okay.
I don't know if my ears can take more of that.
It's okay. I'll just put Rebecca Black on, and then we're gonna be good, right?
Let's talk about differences in mechanics.
What? No, Reza.
Reza, no. We
Not
don't
like
need to tell
this!
Viewers about how much I suck at video games. Okay, I guess we're gonna go into our topic of the day. So today our main topic is basically our focus is on battle arena type games and the difference in these games that we have played and why people choose to transition into different ones. Like for example, the popularity of games all tend to like ebb and web. Like sometimes the game gets popular and then suddenly it's dropping, the popularity drops as people move into another game, or a large collective of people just kind of lose interest in the game, and then a bunch of people like just kind of like move into other ones, and we're trying to kind of like discuss as to the reason why people do this, what kind of games exist nowadays, and what kind of like different people enjoy different types of games, and why these people enjoy these different types of games. And to start, we played we played a few like quote unquote newer games that came out in the past year or so, and I guess we'll have Austin start with the two games that he wants to talk about, I guess.
All right.
Austin?
Well, hello. I'm gonna start with MXM because I think it's the MOBA with the most interesting concept that could develop into something really
Wait,
strong.
can you elaborate what MXM means?
Oh, it's Master X Master. That would probably be
It is
important, you know,
definitely
if
not
people know
boring,
what
do
I'm
not
talking
worry.
about. Anyways, it's Master X Master. It's not Master Point. But essentially, the things I like. So first of all, when you're drafting, you draft 2 heroes at a time, which I find really interesting. And then in combat, you switch between those heroes at any time with a cooldown, so you can't just like switch constantly. But I like the idea of this is so like crazy. It's not even that hard. Like when you think about it, it's not even like whoa, that's way out there, but it's like just out there enough to be like on them to put them on the map. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I just love the fact that like, okay, maybe you're playing this like squishy like marksman, far away like hero, and then like people jump you, and you just switch to like fucking like Wukong and like smash their face in. It's like what the like they're not gonna expect it, and there's a lot of like variance you can do with that, and I like that. Another thing I liked about the game is the inclusion of a PvE mode. And the reason I liked it is mostly for nostalgia. I don't know if you guys ever played, but there's this game that came out a long time ago before it became like shit and got hacked a lot called Bots. You guys ever play Bots?
I've never heard of that.
I have better taste in games.
It was pretty fun, and it was just PvE grinding, and you just like gain gear and stuff, and you had like a robot, and I don't know, it was just super fun. I played it with a friend a lot. And it just reminds me of that PvE grinding is similar in a way, and I just think sometimes I just want to play, like I want to get on, I want to play a game of League, but I don't want to deal with other like assholes. I just want to play the game, but not play with people, and I really like that inclusion of a PvE element. So when I'm in that sort of mood, I can always just fall back on it. Still, like, you know, practice the different skills I'll need, so when I want to play with people, I'm a little bit better, or a little bit like more in sync. Or even if I'm just using it as like a practice game, I can just play that PvE element. And Amber posted some pictures. The top one is the draft where you're drafting two heroes, which I thought, I don't know. That's my favorite part about the game, and I guess that's the reason that people would really.
Do you think other MOBAs could become more fun if they like change to that double hero thing and try to incorporate two champions into their own kind of playstyles?
I feel like it's just something that would work with Master X Master, or you'd have to build the game around it. Because there's a lot of like balancing with doing a game like that. Also, because the game was built on it, like the heroes are taken into they can and can't, like there are limitations, and it's not as if we're playing League of Legends and I can draft like an 80 carry and a fucking like mid laner and just burst anyone that comes like within like a centimeter of my face. Like,
I feel like the way that would work is that like each one of your heroes has a level, so you have to constantly switch between them. So like, for example, let's say everyone has two heroes, but let's say one person just chooses not to play that, so they would have a slight level advantage versus, you know, the other person who chooses to switch between the two heroes. So for example, like you know how in League of Legends, like, you would have, like, bot lane, which is the support, and AD carry, they constantly share experience. Compare that to, like, a top laner who just soaks all the experience for himself. So that kind of, like, level variation may, you know, be a thing that could make, like, our standard games like HOTS, League of Legends, like, more balanced with kind of, like, a two-hero thing. But I don't think it's a good idea to like introduce it into like the mainstream, but maybe like a game mode that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting. Also, I know particularly in Dota, I don't think this is really popular in other games as much, but sometimes you'll have like utility characters or heroes as they're referred to in Dota that are, like, stay level 1 to level 3 almost for a long period in the game, and they basically just use as roamers and they go around and gank people. So that'd be really interesting if you like were to put it into that kind of context, where some heroes really don't need to actually have experience to be useful. That could be make the drafting even more complex.
I could see that, but I don't know. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about which games it is esports later, but that was just like my quick introduction on Master X Master. Another one, Paragon, because we did play some Paragon this week, and the things that I like about Paragon, the graphics, it's a beautiful game. Like if you turn the graphics all the way up, it is insane on that Unreal Engine. I don't know if you guys ever played Unreal Tournament at all, but played that a lot as a kid. But
Again, better standards for games, man.
then you're missing out, because if you say better standards for games and you're talking about Unreal Tournament, then you're just trash. Like, that game was amazing. Like, honestly, everyone's played that game. Anyways,
Oh, bitch.
okay, so I really like the graphics. It's similar. Okay, let's start off with the card system. So basically, it's a card system. Starter decks suck, and you can put these cards in your deck, and you go into the game with a deck of cards, and your build, like your item build would be in League, is only based on the cards you put in your deck. So you can only build the things you put in your deck.
So it's like you're predetermining your item path?
Yeah, basically. You're predetermining your item path, and you can put a little bit of variance in there. Like, say, like, oh, I want this item just in case something happens. You can do that. I think that's the card system is its game's best strength as well as its worst weakness. Because the idea is really fascinating. The idea that you can, like, build these decks, and each deck has like three sub ability upgrades, or like stat upgrades that you can put into it, so that basically you buy the item with card points, which is like gold. So if you last hit minions, you get card points instead of gold. So you buy the item with card points, and then you buy the upgrades with card points, and once you fully upgrade it, the item usually has like a fully upgraded bonus. So I like the idea of, like, oh, maybe putting, let's say this item gives me 10% CDR if I fully upgrade it, so maybe putting less costly upgrades on that item is efficient, because then you get the 10% CDR faster. I did find out the other day, harshly, that you can discard items to get all the points back, right? But if you discard the item, you can't buy it again. It's actually discarded. And I didn't know that, so I just literally lost a game, because I wanted my active to be on 2 instead of 1, because 1's really awkward for me. So I wanted to put it on 2. So I discarded it. I was like, oh, I'll just buy it again. And I couldn't buy it, and I was like, what the fuck? No. It was so bad.
That is super rough. Oh my goodness.
So be careful if you're playing this game, because it can get pretty troll.
Yeah.
The thing I like about it is obviously, like, the card system is intriguing. The thing I dislike about it, and I think they can improve on, is instead of giving you 5 decks you make, and basically how a deck works is you choose a hero that you kind of want to use the deck most for, and it puts it as that hero's deck, even though you can use it for any hero, and you make the deck, and then it takes one of your 5 deck slots, and so you can either use, going into a battle, like the standard deck, which sucks dick, or you can use like one of your predetermined decks. I hate that there's only 5. There's only 5 you can make, and like there's so many combinations, which is awful. What I think they should do instead, and I think this would make it a very more intriguing game and make it a little more interesting from a competitive standpoint, is if they did the draft, and then you had 5 minutes to prepare a deck going into the battle after seeing the draft, because then you could be like, oh, you can like see people, like, and it doesn't even have to be like, they could even tone down the complexity of the deck building system to make it more streamlined. But I think having like 5 minutes before just to make a draft, and I'm talking about like if this was like a ranked game. Maybe if you go into quick play, having predetermined decks is fine because you're just practicing mechanics and stuff. But if it's like a ranked game, I think you should have a little bit more flexibility in how you approach the game from each like match standpoint.
Yeah, I could see that. Because a lot of times, to my knowledge, companies kind of put these systems in to increase like the diversity of how you approach the game strategically. But especially if you only have like 5 slots to use them, that it really kind of shoehorns you into 5 different play styles, I would imagine, where the game itself has a lot of variance in heroes. So you'd probably have like, this is my mage spellcaster deck, this is my tank deck, this is my jungler deck type thing. And then also, I remember I was talking to my friend Eric about Paragon, because he played a bit, and he was kind of saying that kind of sucks when you're a new player. Very similar to the rune system in League that they're going to overhaul very soon, where new players get completely like screwed over for playing against somebody, a veteran, because they just haven't been able to get nearly as many cards, and their stats are worse in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like that's what I don't like about like games that have a certain level of like progression based on like level and stuff like that. Like on one hand, I completely understand like unlocking champions, but this is like a really big handicap for people who don't, haven't put that much time in. And literally, like for a game like Paragon, where the player base is quite small, and when we were playing the other day, we got like matched up with like people who are, well, like not significantly better, but like you can tell that like they're probably people who have like gotten quite a bit of card packs and probably have all the champions unlocked. So it's kind of like for a newbie to go up against that without anything to like, at least put them like a little more closer to where they start is bad, because one, like the players are gonna get stomped, and on top of that, like they're not going to have fun, and that amount of loss might just drive them away from the game. And that was like the case for me a little bit when I first started playing League. But like after you get to level 30 and you have accumulated enough IP, like it's still shit, because like you continuously need a lot of IP to like buy new runes and buy new heroes. I still haven't have all the heroes unlocked, and I only have 3 rune pages, man. Like, and it's literally like, I understand they want to encourage you to play more games, but like you're gonna get shit. You're gonna get like pooped on if you don't have that like prerequisite. And
also,
kind of just like,
quick side note.
Bruh.
I spent 10 minutes trying to find a fucking League of Legends game the other day, and I spent 30 seconds to find a Paragon game. So, what the fuck?
Well, okay,
and they were both normals, so it's not even like...
If you queue in a quick play, like if you don't queue for the draft... Wait, is this for a quick match in League? Like, no draft?
Yeah.
It took you 10 minutes?
It took me 10 minutes. Well, okay, so it took me 5 minutes before I found, like, an actual game, and then someone dodged, and it took me 5 more minutes to find another game.
Oh my
and I was like, what the
terrible.
Yeah, I don't understand.
God.
How?
Go back to playing ranked and HOTS.
Yeah, I might as well just play HOTS.
Oh,
fucking 10-minute queues. Oh, God. Okay.
Oh, God, no. That's
Speaking
really,
of
really
HOTS.
Well, I'll talk about HOTS later.
But
I think Amber was going to talk about a couple.
Yeah, my favorite games. Okay. So I guess I'll start by talking about Smite. Smite came out quite a long time ago. I think it was like 5 years now, 4 years. I don't quite remember. Anyways, it was kind of quote unquote revolutionary at the time, because it was probably one like, probably not the first, but it's one of the first like standard MOBA skill shot third person. So it used a give me a second. It used a map system quite similar to League. So it's like 3 lanes. I think 2 inhibitors, one nexus, and a jungle. So something like this. Very, very similar to what you typically see on League, but the playstyle is very comparable to Paragon, but Paragon came a lot later. So how Smite basically works is you play as one of, like, I don't know, I think they have like 60 gods now, and they're all based on mythical characters and myths, sadly.
Literally
so
the most appealing part of the fucking game. You play as a
their
fucking
lore
god. You play as a god.
Like,
Dude, you could
you're
be
literally
trash,
a
but you're
god.
still a god. Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
literally. Like, and they have like gods from like a bunch of different like cultures and myths. So it's really fun to see that. Like, lore is probably their like the best part about their game.
All I can imagine is that if you're all like if you're all gods in this game, your teammates flaming you is gonna turn really funny. It's like, wow, it's too bad you're not a god because that means you can't kill yourself. Like, I just see somebody saying that
Oh
to me.
my
I'm like,
God.
God damn it, can you chill?
Man, and the other best thing about Smite is they have really, really great skins. Like, really, really great skins. For example, Aphrodite with an afro. And we can't forget about.
I'm into
With an
it.
afro, that's the best.
I'm
Oh my
into
God.
it.
And there's also this Swagny instead of Agni.
Oh.
Literally two pimps.
Oh my god.
And there's
Jeez.
also really, really, really bad skins. I think there was just like, what was it? I think there's a Scaldy skin that was like, they used like, oh yeah, here. It made me want to like legitimately kill myself because this is like look at this. Like, legitimately look at this.
Oh my god. Such memes, much fun.
Like, it's actually horrendous.
Do you actually get like a Shiba Inu in game?
Yes.
Wait, that kind of looks like Arcade Sona a little bit, though.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And there's another one. There's a Neon Cat one for Bastet, I think. it's so gross. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
Popstar Ari / maybe Arcade Ari, like.
I don't even know, man. It's just a lot of cringe. However, like, I haven't played Smite in a long time. It's just when I first started playing Smite, there's a pretty big learning curve, in my honest opinion, because like when you're moving from like a MOBA, like League of Legends into like something like Smite, the fact that your auto attacks are also skill shots can be a really, really big pain in the ass.
Mhm.
Like,
That's a problem. Same with Paragon, though. That's exactly how Paragon
exactly.
was.
So it's kind of just like, that's a lot of like, I don't know. There's a lot of like, that's why like when I play like games like Smite or Paragon, I like to go with like ability like heavy heroes. So like,
Right.
so like I don't have to like worry as much and
I
still
remember
like
when we were
carry my
playing
fucking weight.
when we were playing Paragon, I was like, all right, I'm in lane. I'm gonna go in the jungle. Then some chick jumps on me, turns my screen all red. I'm like, no, get away! And I'm like,
I would like to speak to the manager haircut.
Oh my god.
I guess
Countess?
I couldn't tell. I was like spinning my camera around. I was missing everything. I'm like, please let me go.
Let me just tell you, the one mechanic that I fucking hate in Paragon is the hero that, like, she has a blind, but instead of, like, blinding, because, like, they can't have blinds. They can't just have normal blinds where, like, oh, it blinds the hero's auto attack so they don't do damage. No, they fucking turn your screen white. What the fuck? They thought that would be a good idea, and so you're running around not knowing where the fuck you're going.
Hey, you're blinded, man.
Oh my god, I would like to speak to respect to the manager.
Yeah.
You're just saying the Russian accent. I would like to speak to the manager. Anyways, I am going to talk like this for the rest of the
No,
podcast.
please.
Yeah, I think I'm leaving.
And that's all for today, guys. Tune in next week.
It's just like I just see like a slipper just like randomly just like flying through the sky and just like crashing into my window, and I'm just like, oh, that's the Hispanic slipper of doom.
La chancla.
Okay, let's take it off the tangent for a second. How many of you guys have been smacked in the face by a chancla before?
No.
A slipper. A slipper.
I don't. I think. Well, I've thrown my slippers onto my roommate's face once.
What?
Rude.
All right. Well, it was in college. I was a sophomore, and his alarm was going off, but he wasn't getting up. So I was like, "Oh my god, turn your alarm off!" But he was still asleep in his bed next to this alarm blaring in his ear. So I took my slipper and threw it at him, and I just meant to like hit him, but it landed on his face. And he woke up. He's like, "Dude, what the fuck? This is so disgusting."
You piece of shit.
I have a story too. Okay, so my roommate used to never wake up for his alarms, and I used to think, man, if his alarm didn't go off, he'd probably sleep literally all day. And that was like just like a random thought I had. So one time I got fucking sick of it, and so as his alarm went off, I called his phone.
No.
I called his phone because it turns off the alarm. And then I called his phone, I hung up, and then I fell back to sleep, and then woke up, went to class, came back home at like 6 p.m. He's still sleeping, dude. he fucking never left. Oh my god. Oh my god, I felt so bad, but I just let him sleep, and then he woke up at like 9, and then he came down into like the common room, and he's like, damn, I must have slept through my alarm. I slept all day, and I was like,
What time did he go to bed?
Oh, I don't know. He goes to bed like not too late, but that man can sleep, dude. Let me just tell you.
Shit.
Shout out to Ben Reese for being able to sleep forever. God damn.
Damn.
I mean, like, I've other than the fact that my parents used to beat me, and when I used to run away from my parents, they would just literally chuck slippers, try to hit my butt or something. Like, I guess the only other fun part was like when I was like in Montreal, like just like chilling at my friend's house, and literally like I started snoring or whatever, and then like in the middle of the night, literally just like in the middle of nowhere, just like 3 pillows just like smacked me in the face. And it wasn't like, remember, like, my friend is very strong, so they weren't like they were like poof, like
Wake
in my face,
fuck up!
like the fucking stop snoring. And then he was just like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm gonna sleep in the fucking living room. And I'm just like,
Damn.
hell.
Alright, so what you're saying is that in like if they port Smite to virtual reality, your parents would be pretty good at it.
Oh no. Oh no.
They'd already have the range auto attacks down.
Yes, they would. And I will buy them the kawaii pop skin.
Oh dear.
No, actually that's a cat. But you know.
How do you think Smite relates to like League of Legends in terms of the skill and barrier to entry?
I don't know. Like, I guess I'll talk about League first for people who haven't played League, which is
Oh, true.
what? Anyways, League is probably the world's most popular game. The end. It's a top-down style like Moba, which is a multiplayer online battle arena. So there's about like, I don't remember, like 120 champions you can choose, and auto attacks are typically just point and click. So when you click on a minion or you click on a hit champion, it's just locked onto that. And whereas the skill shots taped onto your QWER can be a range of skill shots. Channels, lock-in snares. There's a really large variation, but there's the thing about League is that there is a lot of mechanics and just a lot of like phases in a game. So when you start out in the laning phase, and then you move into the team fight when you fight for objectives, and then more objectives, jungle monsters, Baron, dragon, yada yada yada. It's like just very similar to Smite. It uses a 3-lane system. So it's typically 2 people in the bottom lane, 1 person in mid, 1 person in top, and 1 person in jungle. A lot of the MOBAs nowadays utilize that mechanic because it's easily transferred and it's one aspect of the game that you don't have to learn anymore. But I think League and Dota are the ones that came out with it first. namely Dota came out with it first.
Also, you either get shit on or you shit on the other person. No in between.
Yeah, the
like...
thing about League is that it's very snowball heavy. Like, you can literally carry a game if your team is, let's say, like I don't know, they're all negative and the other team isn't doing too great, but you're like, let's say you have 20 kills and you're full build at like 15 minutes, you can basically shit on them pretty badly. But like it really depends on the mechanics that you have and the mechanics of the other team, whereas like in a game such as like HOTS, you can't really carry because the level's universal and there's no items and stuff like that, which brings me to the items aspect. Although like League of Legends has kind of like, I guess, like its heroes are not the most flexible. There's two roles and that's basically it. And like you kind of like typically in the meta, people just kind of like stick with like one or the two, and there's always one that's superior. There's always a superior item path, and there's really not a lot of like wiggle room. Would you guys agree with like your build when you're playing like a specific role or a character?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, in terms of like the meta picks, there isn't as much diversity as say like Dota, which I'll talk about when I kind of go into that game. And yeah, the item paths are not very diverse. They've gotten better, in my opinion, in League over the past few years. There's recently like a post on the subreddit where this guy did like some 2-page long Jhin guide or 10-page long Jhin guide that talked about like 4 different item builds you can go in different situations, which I didn't read it because I don't really care that much about playing Jhin, but I just thought it was really cool that this guy that had a lot of expertise on this champion found a way to make different paths work. But yeah, I would agree in general that there is less strategic diversity going into League than something like Dota.
I feel like they really dumbed down the item process. Like, it's obvious what you should buy and when you should buy it. Like, there's not a lot of learning curve. There's not a lot of taking risks with your item builds. It's just like, oh, I should buy a Banshees because they have a lot of spells. Like, and I'm a mid laner and I want CDR. There's not a lot of oh, I'm this specific hero, so I should build this specific item because it suits my hero well. There's the only role I would say that works on is support. I think there's a lot of like key items that work really well on certain supports.
Yeah, definitely. And like you wouldn't ever build like an ardent sensor on like someone who doesn't have a shield or a heal, and it's just like.
Yeah, I think also support itemization is probably the best in League because there's so many actives. It's like, well, I can look at Redemption versus like Knight's Vow, but like which of these unique abilities is going to be like more effective, or like versus Aegis? Oh, is the shield better, or is the new like Zeke's Herald AoE better? It comes a lot for the support position at least. I think it's really cool how there's a lot more kind of active decision making.
Yeah, and like one thing with support is that like, yeah, there are definitely items that are superior, but with support items is there's not a lot of items that are like just bad, like just like outright bad. Mm-hmm. It's like everything's pretty situational, and literally like even like let's say like grabbing like I don't know like a redemption when you already have a lot of heals, or like if you're Soraka or something, that's still good. Like even though you have like heals off the roof, like redemption is still gonna be like very, very helpful. Even like, so that's the thing that I find like supports are like really, really good at. Another thing that about League that they recently introduced is the 5-ban system.
Thank fuck.
Like honestly, like I thought it was gonna be a giant piece of shit, but honestly, like it's not that bad.
There's like 20 heroes I want to see like never in my games. It's unfortunate.
Like what?
Like literally half of that game. Like I don't want to see like any of the. I don't want to see. I feel bad because like. Personally, I fucking hate Echo. I'll ban Echo every single time because I hate that champion. But like, there's better bans. But
I used to play Echo.
I mean, I used to play Echo, but now when I'm only playing bot lane recently. So like, I'm gonna play Echo bot lane.
Yeah.
Amen.
Anyways, we
Good.
should probably get a quick overview of the other two games, just so we could start talking
Yeah.
about the
definitely.
actual.
Speaking
discussion.
of Echo Bot Lane is a good kind of somewhat segue into Dota 2. I used to be, and so, okay, my favorite game is still League of Legends, so I do have to put that out there. I do prefer League, but I have played a bunch of Dota 2, and I played a lot, and I originally played Dota 1, which was the derivative to League of Legends. And so Dota 2 released by Valve via Steam, and this game is, so if you're not really familiar with the MOBA genre, a lot of these games are essentially the same thing. If you compare like League versus Dota compared to like Civilization 6 or something, that game is just completely different. But League and Dota, the mechanics are fairly similar, and if you enjoy one, you'll probably generally enjoy another. But I kind of mentioned earlier that I think Dota has better pick diversity and a lot more strategic diversity in terms of kind of contemplating how you should proceed with the game, where you don't have this defined 5 role kind of system. You can kind of be a little more variable with how you rotate your picks around. Sometimes you'll have like a roamer, sometimes you'll have like just somebody that's actually jungling, or where you kind of put the long lane and kind of who you choose to shut down in terms of the enemy team, I think gives it a little bit more of that diversity. And then because the items have a lot more active effects, like I kind of mentioned with the support role in League, but in Dota you have things like Force Staff, you have, well, there's a huge variety. I could list a bunch of them, but they just give you a lot of extra abilities that kind of allow you to adapt your gameplay in more unique ways. That being said, I think League does a much better job at introducing new players to the game system, where even though there's a huge burden of knowledge into League of Legends or any MOBA really, because to be considered competent, you have to know what every one of the 136 champions does. But in League of Legends, they kind of introduce you to that a little more slowly, where you have the set of free champion rotation, and you go into it, and because there is that defined meta, that allows you to kind of focus on one thing at a time. Whereas with Dota, because it's a lot more open, and when you instantly go into a match, you have access to all of their heroes. I don't remember off the top of my head how many Dota has at the moment, but it's a lot, pretty comparable to League of Legends. And when you have all those open to you, it does make it a lot more intimidating as like a new player. So I think the burden of knowledge to get into Dota is probably a little bit worse. And also Dota is a lot more punishing in terms of kind of the snowball mechanic you talk about. League is very snowbally, but like Dota, when you die, you actively lose gold in your bank. And so if you camp somebody, they can be unable to purchase any items for the entirety of the game, which kind of sucks.
Oh Lord.
You also have things like that being said, in Dota, the way the abilities are kind of designed is that you have a lot more kind of like point and click abilities, which means that a lot of times when abilities are more OP, it's really hard to wiggle yourself out of a different situation. And I guess I could talk more about this when we go into like delve into the mechanics in each game. But in League, there's kind of more of, I feel within team fights, there's more like outplay potential in that sense. But Dota, definitely one of the big 3 esports right now. League being the first, and then CS:GO and Dota are pretty close. But yeah, then going into Heroes of the Storm, which is a game that the 3 of us have played a bunch together, a lot. This is Blizzard's MOBA. Or actually, before I jump into Heroes, do you guys have any comments about Dota?
Dude, I've never played Dota, not gonna lie.
Okay, wait. I played Dota except Boss Rush mode, so
That's not entirely true. I tried playing Dota on. I think they have a console. Do they have a console version? I feel like I played it on a console.
I don't think they have a console.
Maybe
I'm
not.
not
Okay.
sure.
Maybe.
They have it on virtual reality. I mean,
Can you play it with a controller though? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Fuck. I mean, you
I
can
don't
play
know.
League with a controller, technically.
I mean,
you can play it
no.
with a freaking like DDR pad if you wanted to.
Anyways, I feel like I played it at a friend's house or something, but it was like one game,
Okay.
and I was like some dude that was basically Blitzcrank. So
yeah, basically Stitches.
It was alright.
All right. Well, yeah. So then the last game in terms of this MOBA kind of grouping together that we've kind of chosen for this episode would be Heroes of the Storm. This is Blizzard's MOBA that is no, I guess Paragon and MXM are more new, but Heroes of the Storm was only released 2 years ago, I think. So it is a fairly more recent title. I want to. All right. Damn it, Amber. Distracted me. But, okay, so in Heroes of the Storm, it's very unique in that the levels are team-based, which is something no other MOBA does. And the Blizzard's variety and diversity comes largely through their map pool. So you level up and change your abilities, which is pretty cool. But also, depending on which map gets drafted, you get a lot of different types of strategies and team compositions you want to aim for in different situations. And since it's Blizzard's MOBA, probably, to be honest, I think my favorite thing about Heroes of the Storm is really just actually playing as the Blizzard characters. I just get like every time I like pick Arthas or like I'm playing Kerrigan or something, Tyrael, he looks so badass. I'm just thinking to myself like, oh man, this is cool. Like, dude, I would want to see Arthas versus Kerrigan 1v1 in real life, dude. I would want to see Brightwing flail his tongue about in a flirty manner. So Here's the Storm. I think because it is backed by Blizzard, you get these gorgeous cinematics to intro to the game, and like whenever they release new heroes and stuff, it's pretty cool. There has been a bit of mobility creep, I think, with the protection creep, even more so with the last few heroes in Heroes of the Storm, where you have like Varian and Medivh and Genji. They all have like immunity abilities, which is kind of making it rough for a lot of the older design champions. But definitely a very fun game because there are so many different ways you have to tackle each mode. And I think having the two options for your ultimates is also something pretty unique that few other MOBAs can really bring to the table.
And I think the thing I like about Heroes of the Storm is that it's very oversight based. Like you have to like consider the game, not like it's not like a stage by stage thing where like, oh, it's laning phase, oh, it's this, oh, but it's like, it's like you have to consider every way that they can win, and you have to consider what they're winning. Trying to think of the word, what their win condition is, and what your win condition is, and you have to play around it.
That reminds me of that one time we were playing ranked, I think, in Team League, and we were against a 5-stag. We were crushing them every fight. We were winning. We were doing great, but they made some like beeline and killed one of our keeps, which is like the last building before your central base dies.
Like legit, like Medivac.
Yeah, then they medevaced in all 5 of them, and we were so sad because they rushed the core down and we lost the game, even though we were absolutely destroying them.
Yeah, fucking
that was rough.
Sad life.
It was sad to experience, but I do have to say I actually really like that that's an option and that there's the possibility of an enemy team coming up with a very creative solution to win a game like that.
Yeah, and one of the really big things I really enjoy about HOTS is that, yeah, there is a build path that is optimal. Like, there is a wrong path that you can build in HOTS, but there's also, like, multiple situational right paths.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
And like especially with talents, right? Like there is like sometimes there's certain heroes there is definitely a bad talent to pick, like an ult or something, but other times there isn't. Like,
Ariel heal cooldown reduction. Bad talent unless certain occasions.
Not with Cho'Gall, man. Remember
that's what I'm saying.
Fucking asses. So it's just like, for example, when us three were playing when we're playing heroes, like they were playing Cho'Gall and I was playing Oriel, so I could be basically their pocket pick. Typically, you wouldn't choose CDR talent on Ray of Heaven, But I did because like that gave them a like I would like charge energy like no tomorrow, and then I can keep them alive. And every time like like the ability was off cooldown, it's literally just like a full heal, and that's literally like you wouldn't be able to achieve that with a lot of the other heroes. Like the other. I don't know, like maybe Gul'dan, but like I don't know about the other ones. Like you need a very specific build path to like like fit in with everyone, like the specific like team comp that you have. Sometimes there is a really, really bad one. Like typically speaking, like I said, you would never pick CDR. There's always a better talent than that. But in this certain scenario, like literally, it was pretty good.
One thing I will say that really bugs me in HOTS, and they have this in Dota also, is the amount of creep block and like the collision radius of different minions and champions.
I hate it.
Frustrates me so much. And League, they increased like the width of minions and stuff like last year or something. But like I just find it so frustrating when I'm trying to walk and you're playing Heroes of the Storm, somebody jumps behind you and they just make a wall of like 3 people and you have to slowly meander your way around them and then you just end up collapsing.
Oh yeah.
Awful.
But I think my best part, my most favorite thing about HOTS is the Sonya cry. It's so loud. It's like, oh my god, I can't deal.
Every time you hear that, you're just ready to go in.
Yeah, like your butt cheek just kind of like clenches a little bit. You're just like, oh, there we go.
God, Blizzard does have some fantastic sound design, to be real.
And they have they have awesome character design. Like, I love League's character design. Like, that's one thing they do very, very well. Like,
really?
Even though their lore isn't really fleshed out anymore. Pardon me?
I think League characters are shit, except for like 3 or 4 of like the newer
Their
ones have been good.
Ones
but
have been kind of
literally, fucking Maokai is just a tree. He's like, oh, I'm a tree. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
I guess
down
you have
man.
a point for that example.
But like,
I think the last like 3 years when they've done releases with like the Bilgewater event, I love that, or like the Shurima Rise. I think that was really cool.
But like the coolest one is like Kindred. Like when they start getting really in depth with like they just take like an idea instead of like a character and then trying to like fit in all these little quirks like fucking Maokai's tree.
The moment they start incorporating lore into like the character creation, like very, very heavily, like what they did with Rakan and Xayah, like that gave it a lot more levels. And same with Kindred, like I felt like those were really, really well fleshed out and well released heroes, whereas like I don't know, I felt like Alawi's release was really, really weak, and so was Camille's. Like,
well,
I agree with that.
Also, those heroes are kind of
I don't know, Camille kind of reminds me of Sonya.
I do, and I do understand that having creep block allows for a 1 level of increased like
annoyance.
How do I say it? Well, not just annoyance, but like mechanics, where you have to like be cognizant of like, okay, what are the possible paths I can use to escape, and my enemy will try to go, and that does add a little bit of extra strategy. But probably the reason why I like League the most, especially in reference to like Dota 2, is that the League characters are super responsive and very snappy to things like dodges. Where in like Dota 2, you have turn animations. So if you're walking forward and you want to like turn around, your character has to physically like turn their body, and it takes like half a second for them to change directions. Whereas in League, if you're playing like Zed versus LeBlanc, that matchup is gonna be crazy. You see Zed juking back and forth. Faker versus Ryu, Zed v Zed even in the 2013 like OGN summer final. That was fucking insane. Every time I go look at that on YouTube, to this day, I've seen that clip like 100 times. It blows my mind. And the fact that not only are most of League's abilities more skill shot oriented than other a lot of other MOBAs, like Heroes of the Storm has a bunch of like targeted stuff, and then Dota has a lot more targeted stuff. But like in League, if you're a really good player and you're caught in a 1v3, you have the ability to just juke the shit out of people by dodging all their damage and then 1v3. And I really love that about the game. It kind of adds to this idea where if I'm dying, I know there's always something for me to do better, even if I'm caught in like a really shit situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we were gonna talk about the differences in mechanics, stuff like that, but I feel like we kind of covered a lot of like the interesting mechanics of the games as we like talked about. Like we talked about the the shared EXP spots makes it that mechanic is what makes that MOBA different from other MOBAs. So we kind of like briefly grazed it. We talked about the card system in Paragon and whatnot.
What is even unique about LoL? Like,
Well, LoL was just it's hard to be unique when you're just like the
yeah.
first game. Like being a MOBA in itself was the unique thing about
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, like Dota came first though, so
Dota 1 came first, but that was a fan-made thing that was run on the
Yes,
Warcraft
fair.
3 client.
Yeah.
So it was like League of Legends and Heroes of New Earth that came out.
And
from
League was
Dota
free.
1.
oh my
So that's literally,
God,
like-
Heroes of New Earth. Isn't that like
If Heroes of
Lord of the
New Earth would have been
Rings?
free, like League may have not been as
Yeah.
big as it was.
It may or may not have like launched itself, but the thing with Heroes of New Earth, I don't know if I had a couple friends that played it because we all played Dota 1, and basically Heroes of New Earth copied Dota almost verbatim in terms of the map, and just copied the exact playstyle of a lot of the characters. So a lot of the diehard Dota fans went to Heroes of New Earth from Dota 1 because I mean the Warcraft 3 game was just kind of like really old and outdated. So but then when Dota 2 was released, Heroes of New Earth, all their player base just basically fell off a cliff because they were all the Dota diehards. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna go play real Dota now that there's a dedicated client for it.
Right? And then I don't know. I feel like the game just imploded at that point. Like they didn't have enough like base to keep really being relevant.
Yeah, sadly for them.
All right. So I think the most important question. I think this is the question that like this podcast is building up to, and it's the one I want to talk about the most. We can always go back to some of the other things that we want to talk about the different games, but I think what determines like if the game will become an and what made different games bigger and better esports than other games. I think that's like the question I want to get to.
Ooh.
yeah, definitely. Like so like it's one of them has to do with popularity and the amount of support that the firm is willing to give for the game. Without that, like, so for example, you have games that are trying to make themselves an esport, but they realize
Hashtag drop zone. So we gotta drop that in there at some point. Like they built the game to be an esport, but then like that's where the popularity factor comes in. No offense to drop zone.
yeah, it's
I mean, it could be a fun game, but yeah, I think having the developer support for the esport can really boost and like multiply its presence in the competitive scene, like we saw Riot Games do in 2013 when they created the LCS. They really brought it to that next level by the power of their own efforts. But yeah, you can't like multiply a base that isn't really there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, in Canada, there's this firm called Cineplex, and they're basically, they've funneled like probably thousands of dollars into their esports program, trying to make esports happen. Their Cineplex is a theater, so like they deal with movie theaters, films, and stuff like that. So they have a lot of potential with stuff like viewing parties for League, with Dota for CS:GO, Overwatch. They could even have players like literally play and have their game like just on the screen, but they choose to literally like go for games like Lego Dimensions, like
Dude, that's the best esport. I'm a pro at Lego Dimensions. don't you know?
and like Injustice 2. The only game that they're
Yeah.
doing that actually can do well is Street Fighter 5. But other than that, they're doing games like Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Guitar Hero, Uncharted 4 multiplayer, Show 16.
Wait, what? Uncharted 4 both. Oh my
I
god.
didn't even know Uncharted 4 had a multiplayer.
Much less that it could be an esport. What the fuck?
So it's kind of like,
Why?
yeah.
Well, I think one thing that's really important to consider, and this is like the big question, right? Whenever you're a business, you're like, how do we get a golden goose, the esport community that's going to keep our game relevant for 8+ years, like League of Legends? I think there is one thing really important to consider where the watchability for a newcomer to come in and understand what's going on can either hurt or kind of hinder how people play, or how much people can enjoy and stick to the esports scene. Where League of Legends, I think, is pretty bad at this, actually. If you're not familiar with MOBAs, then it's really, really difficult to understand even basics of the game, like who the hell is in the lead. Because the camera's jumping around between 3 different lanes, you see like a bunch of numbers thrown at the top, like kills or gold, but those don't even necessarily mean if a team's ahead.
Yeah,
For instance, if you have more kills against like a scaling team or something like that.
That's another reason why like games like Smite, Paragon, and Overwatch are harder to kind of like become esports, because they're very, very difficult in terms of like following, and like it's a very, very hard spectator sport.
It's literally the Overwatch effect. Like that's why that's why I've like termed this thing. If people are just if the game is unwatchable, which Overwatch was when it started, I think it's getting a lot better. But the game was just unwatchable, and you can't like have an esport if you can't have a viewership.
What specific things do you think the early Overwatch lacked that made it unwatchable, or that it had that made it unwatchable, and how do you think it's gotten better recently? I haven't answered this myself, but I'm just wondering if you have any ideas.
With Overwatch, I think they started doing better camera angles, like top down.
Yeah.
So like that is much more easy like to watch than like your standard like first person. So I feel like that is probably one of the biggest things. And additionally, one really interesting statistic is that like I think it was like 10% or like 15% of people who watch esports don't actually play the games themselves. So
Oh wow.
Yeah, I found that really, really surprising too. So like a lot of like and quite a few people who watch League of Legends don't actually play League of Legends, but not like as much as we hope. Maybe like they play the game like once or twice, but somehow they know enough about the game and not play the game and still be able to like follow professional teams. So it's kind of just like the more difficult and more complex the game is, and the more difficult it is to like follow, the harder it is to become popular.
Yeah, I think one of the maybe the best game in terms of watchability that I've, in my opinion, in the esports sphere is Counter-Strike Go.
Oh my god.
Or Go being Global Offensive, because you have these already set camera angles like you're talking about. You can see kind of what's going on. It's very easy for a lay person to jump in and understand the action, most of the action, where, oh, okay, this is a guy, he has an op, and he shot the other guy in the face, and now it lists that there are 2 people alive. That's really easy to follow. Like, there are these many people alive, and these guys dying. Oh, okay, wow, that guy shot 2 people in a row. It's a lot easier to appreciate that than say like, oh wow, Orianna landed a 3-man shockwave. Because if you don't know League, then you're like, what the fuck does that even mean? But also, I really like how in Counter-Strike, and I don't think this is intentional in terms of watchability, but because each quote-unquote game is divided into a minimum of 15 rounds, having stops in between each round, that provides the audience a very structured kind of pacing of excitement, where if I can relate this to traditional sport like American football, you have a lot of breaks in the action, which can be really frustrating if you're just trying to see the game. But it allows people to build up hype for the next play. You're like, oh my gosh, the Broncos are like 5 yards out from getting a touchdown. Oh man, I have to wait 30 seconds for this play to go down. That really builds up your excitement, and then you kind of get that the climax of the play happening and the denouement of when it kind of plays out and you see the after effects. And I think Counter-Strike does that really well, where you have these structured breaks in the action to allow yourself to kind of build up this idea of hype. And that also, looking forward in the future, if you have breaks like that, that's really easy to monetize, right? I mean, everyone rags on the NFL for having commercials literally every like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or gambling.
Wait,
who do you think is going to win next round?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about, like, for clarity? Okay, so let's say when they're like replaying a football play, right? Like right before they replay the play, they have like draw it out, like what's gonna happen, like over the play. How do you feel about something like that being incorporated into an esport? Like let's say it's like Overwatch or something, and I don't know, you're trying to show. Tracer like dashes over here, lands a pulse bomb, goes all the way back over to here, but like from an above perspective, like if you're just showing what's happening and then you like zoom down into the action and like show the play, do you think that would be like effective in terms of clarity?
I like the idea. I think it'd be difficult to implement for obvious reasons.
Exactly.
If you have the technology to do it, and maybe enough, like you'd have to have several people like full time like doing this as a job, but maybe I think you want to set up the beforehand thing in a similar viewpoint or similar like camera angle as when the play will play out, so that way people know where to track their eyes. But if you do something like you can create a translucent like 3D image of Tracer and you have somebody walk through where Tracer will go or something, from the actual game perspective, or like have an arrow flying in the air of the map showing what'll happen. I think that could be a good way to implement it. But especially something like Tracer who's blinking around.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was just thinking like something like an overlay. Like it wouldn't have to be something that you put in the game. Like very basic. Like use a tablet to literally draw on the screen. Like because that's what they literally do in like football.
And that's actually something that bothers me the most about watching Overwatch. I don't know if they've actually solved it yet. I haven't really followed competitive Overwatch much until like I'll get into it more when the OWL starts, the Overwatch League. But last time I checked, they didn't have a mini map for the game, and that is atrocious for viewers. Especially if you're in like a first person angle. I mean, Amber, you're saying it's getting better, but if you're like this freaking Torbjorn, if you're watching from the perspective of a Tracer or something, you have no idea where anyone is in relation to anything.
That's true. It's
I
pretty
feel
bad.
like the maps, just like I like the idea of maps in terms of like it's kind of like you can only see like the map. It's like the location of like enemy units when you can actually like when you're in like the point of view of them, and like I guess that's pretty good. But one of the biggest mechanics of Overwatch is the little houses, the little turns, and the fact that it's kind of like, yes, you need to know the map, but like at the same time, it's that is a level, that's a learning curve that's implemented in the game, and like I feel like a map would literally just like.
Oh yeah, So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it sounds like you're saying to me is that you kind of like how when you're playing there's no map, because that is itself a layer of strategy. And I would agree with that point, but I think if you're spectating, there should be a mini map.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. That would be very interesting. But imagine like you're just playing Tracer and you're just like, oh, she's there. Like, which one's Tracer? Yeah.
Right.
And I think Blizzard's kind of learning. I feel like Blizzard is just testing sports. Like they tested it when they released Heroes of the Storm because they went like I felt like they never went balls deep in a game and just like fucking like went ham on an esport. They like they're just like testing the waters. And I feel like when they made HOTS, it was just their their initial test of like a MOBA, and so they didn't know if they didn't want to like fully commit. And then Overwatch, I feel like was something they learned from. This is, in my opinion, is that the next big esport isn't going to be a MOBA. I don't think it's going to be a MOBA because like League already has that viewership, and unless the MOBA really changes the game and is also a really good game, which is hard to pull off, and has the support of the company, which is like the trifecta of like holiness, I don't think that that's going to come along anytime soon. So I think Blizzard realized that and wanted to move away from MOBAs. And that's why they created Overwatch. And then with the viewership issues, I think they're learning a lot from that as well. So I think Blizzard's just like piecing together like this recipe for like an ultimate like esport, and they're just not.
It's been a 10-year-long Exodia in the making.
Yeah, and like I feel like they're gonna like approach a new project at some point and like full on go ham as an esport, and it might be really cool to see.
Well, isn't Overwatch League pretty much Blizzard going all in? I mean, they're hosting this league. They're charging people rumors of like $20 buy-ins for like different.
$20.
$20 million.
I'm just like, I'd buy myself in.
Yeah, I'd like to be the San Diego sprint speeds, please.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I feel like the most important part was they realized that this weren't gonna be. Once they realized that and they went in and like watch, like they learned a lot from it. But this viewership issue they're having is what I think they're fixing right. Potentially, there might be a better game that comes out. Like I wanted Hearthstone to be good, but then it comes down to like knowing you have to know the game.
I think Hearthstone's a little different too because the action is very different in terms of it just being a card game.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I want something
new. I guess Blizzard's kind of in the middle. So I'm thinking of like a spectrum of the developer doesn't care for esports like at all, and then there's Riot Games on the other end where Riot is super controlling and does everything themselves. And for better or for worse, I mean, Riot production is fucking fantastic. But then you have like issues where like, oh, why can't ESL do anything anymore? Stuff like that. But you have Riot on one end, and I think Valve is closer to the other end, where you have like Dota 2. I mean, Valve helps with the international, but other than that, it's like pretty much they don't do shit for the game. Which,
yeah, it's true.
They just contract it out, and you see things like if you have. What was it? Was it like I Am Gyeonggi or something where like it was terrible production where there's like 10-hour delay level stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then yeah, Blizzard kind of jumping in where they have like the HGC, they have BlizzCon where they actually do the World Championships for all their games. So I personally prefer the Riot style. Because even if some stuff is restrictive, you're guaranteed some really good product. But we'll see how kind of Blizzard and or other companies go into that in the future, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, like you said, production value is also a very, very big thing. I think when Smite first started, their production value was kind of really, really crappy. And like it was, like the graphics were crappy and like overall to be fair, it was like their first time testing it, but that it's also what turned me off from watching Smite as an esport. And additionally, like there's big corporations like Riot or Blizzard that kind of like do their own production, but there's also very small companies, like local companies or local organizations who do like stuff like I don't know, like Quebec's esports organizations and corporations and communities and whatnot, and they do their own thing, which is fair, but like if your production value is very low, it's very, very unlikely that people will, come see it again in the future because they already have that bad connotation. Like, oh, when I first saw it, like, it was kind of shitty. So it's kind of just like, that first impression is very, very important.
And
Don't skimp out on it because like later on you're gonna lose like a bunch of people.
And a lot of that is even like not even necessarily conscious, but like if you tune into a stream from an indie company, you're like, and it's kind of shitty quality, you'd be like, you might say, or when you're talking about it to people, like, yeah, I forgive them. I mean, obviously they can't put on the multi-million production stuff Riot can afford. But then if you're thinking about it later on, you might just remember your experience as a whole, and that just kind of gets incorporated. Like, well, it was an okay tournament to watch.
Yeah, like it's important to understand, but I think we talked about last whatchamacallit, you need to know your potential, right? You need to know like what you're capable of, because if you don't know what you're capable of, but your viewers will, typically it's just like, hey, you guys are like a multi like you guys are worth, like your budget is like $50,000. Why do your graphics look like you only paid like $5 for them? It's stuff like that, right?
Also, okay, I have a question. So do you think a twist on a classic, like, do you think like if someone create like let's say there was an exact game that was the exact same thing as League of Legends, except for they put like you could choose two heroes, like something like interesting, like we were just talking about, like MXM. Do you think like a twist on a classic will be the next esport, or do you think it'll be something new altogether? Like a new
I think
brand?
it has to be something new altogether, because there's already a lot of games out there that have a very small variation, and they're not doing the best, because the attitude that people have is, oh, this is exactly like blank. This is boring because it's just exactly like blank. So
Right.
so it's like Overwatch is popular right now because there's no other game like it. Like Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA, yes, but it has very, very different mechanics than League of Legends, and that's what makes it sort of popular in the first place. The only deviation that's kind of like out of like the others is the fact that Dota and League are both insanely popular, and they're not carbon copies of each other, but they're very, very similar with each other. Like,
Yeah. And I think I agree with what Austin you were saying a little earlier, where I don't really think the next huge esport is going to be a MOBA, probably. Where people always used to talk, this is in the early 2000s, like, oh my goodness, World of Warcraft is the video game. What's going to be the WoW killer? And it's like, oh, wow, Dawngate, that's going to be the WoW killer. Then they go, oh, Guild Wars 2, that's going to be the WoW killer. But turns out there was no WoW killer.
Turns out WoW was the WoW killer. Like, honestly, it just lasted too long.
I mean, what, it released 2004, so it's been 17 years? Holy shit. The closest thing we could say is like League of Legends was the WoW killer, but that's not even really comparable. And WoW is still going pretty strong these days, in terms of at least being able to have a community and not dying out in relevance. People still compare, well, is this MMO going to be good compared to WoW? So I think that can also kind of be applied for these huge esport titles. Like, it's not necessarily that, oh, let's all jump on the Heroes of the Storm. I like that better than League of Legends. I think it'll just be the public kind of opinion, or the public mood will eventually change over time.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of companies don't think a lot of is like when you say like, oh, this game is going to get killed by this game, and it's literally like, you do realize that it doesn't have to be a game of the same genre. Like, for example, there's like a game that's gonna kill WoW. Like, you shouldn't only be looking at like MMOs. The thing about games is that games, like there's gonna be certain people who are into a certain type of game. Like sometimes, like I'm a person who's into MOBAs and MMORPGs, but I can't really play FPSs because one, my computer can't run it. Second, I have horrible reaction time. But like, the fact that companies are literally like, oh, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, we don't need to look at MOBAs. People don't realize, companies don't realize, and tabloids don't realize that you're competing for someone's time. You're not competing in a specific genre. Like, that's the main thing. Like humans only have so much time they can spend on video games. Like, it also depends on what their friends are playing, right? It's typically like a lot of people like to play MMORPGs because, you know, their friends are playing, and it creates kind of like a community sort of thing, right?
I both agree and disagree with that though, because I feel like it's formulaic that they're trying to like replace one game similar to it, but at the same time it's that formula that allows to players that have already played a certain genre game to hop into another genre game or another game that's in the same genre. So when they're saying, like, it's well thought out by the company. Like when HOTS was made, they were trying to make a game that competed with League, and yes, they're competing for time, but they're also trying to make it easy for a player that has played League to jump into HOTS, and that's like something that's important to consider.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Okay. I guess we'll delve into another question. Like, what do you think is the business differences between like games? So like, for example, there are some games that are on a subscription basis. There are some games where you can like earn like in online currency, and basically you can unlock everything without spending a penny, but you know, you have to play a lot of it, or just like, you know, paying for unlimited access. There's like cosmetics and DLCs. Like, what do you guys think about that in terms of MOBAs and arena games?
So, in terms of level of competitiveness, I think either the free to play that League/Dota uses, or buying it at once and then being able to play unlimited. I think those are like Overwatch uses. I think those are both fine in terms of developing a healthy competitive scene. But obviously, if there's no barrier to entry, then it'll attract more people in general.
Yeah, and I feel like the important thing is being able to have everything self-contained. Like, you should be able to get everything without like paying for it.
Right.
Like, if you just play the game more. The whole goal is like, oh, you play my game more, you get more shit. That's basically like the League formula. And then anything else is just extra, which if they're already playing your game a lot, they're going to spend money on it. That's if you've learned anything from League, it has to be that. Like the amount of money people have spent on like skins and cosmetics and shit is absolutely like bonkers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, I mean, like, it's less tolerable in like MOBAs where it's kind of like, oh, you have to pay to play, as compared to like MMORPGs. I'm pretty sure like there's a lot of people out there who have probably have funneled like thousands of dollars into games like Maple Story or like Final Fantasy, and just to get their account banned or something.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with you guys in terms that, you know, like video games, they definitely like in terms of MOBAs, they should never really like have a subscription basis unless if the game is like, I don't know, like is a game like WoW or Final Fantasy, like. And even with that, like, you need to give them a trial period, or people are just literally going to be like, no, why do I want to pay for a game that I don't even know about? Like,
and I can understand companies wanting to do a subscription service for something like a MMO, because that is so production intensive and really hard for the developers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't. If you look at like, I mean, World of Warcraft still has a regular subscription, and you can actually buy your subscription in game these days with like gold. But something like Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I know that's not an esport, but I think that's an example of like not a great system they used, where it used to be you buy it and then pay a subscription similar to WoW, but they moved it to completely free to play, except they gate like half of your content. There are literal gear pieces in near the end of the game or near max level that say you have to be a paid player to equip this, even if you can acquire it in a free way. And I
Yeah,
think that is
definitely.
like absolutely just makes your players feel like shit.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's like the same idea when like limited edition stuff comes back, and it's kind of just like, really? It's just
Yeah.
like I paid so much. It's like, it just like waters down the value of stuff as well, and it makes people have it feel like shit. And it's just like, I don't. Why would I buy this now? Why I can just buy it later, and you just never end up buying.
Right.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to our not like this moment of the past
Dear
while.
Lord.
Oh my god. Dear Lord, indeed.
Alright, someone else go
Alright.
first.
Okay, I'll go first. So this past week, it was my not like this moment was again with Austin and Amber, sadly. So
Okay, bitch.
a week no, it wasn't your guys' fault, it was my bad. A week from yesterday, I believe, this past Monday, we changed our internet service where we still have Verizon Fios, but we like canceled our contract and reneged to get like a better deal because they had like a better offer for new subscribers to the thing. So it's like, wait,
okay.
why are we going to continue our contract? So like my dad canceled the contract and then we got a new one for the better deal. And the new deal has like way better internet speeds. So I'm like, all right, I'm fucking ready. Then fast forward to Tuesday night after we did our last podcast, I think we're like, let's play some good old League of Legends, and we played a game. I think it was League the first day. So we're playing a game. I'm like, all right, gotta try hard. Also invite this new friend I'd never seen before. He was like a diamond mid lane. I'm like, okay, gotta impress these people. Bam! Attempting to reconnect. I'm like, what? No! In the loading screen. So I'm like, fuck. And it's out for like 5 to 10 minutes when the loading screen started, but then it comes back on. I'm like, oh, yes. So I jump back in. Everyone else is level 7, but I go to lane. Somehow Austin was winning bot lane 1v2 as Rakan.
Yeah, dude, I remember that game. They kept diving me, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm Rakan. Like, ult them.
I'm not sure how that works out. But Austin was being a bamf, and everyone was like friendly, like, yeah, shit happens. I'm like, cool. And so I came back, and we actually like had a fighting chance, but we ended up losing that game. So I'm like, damn, oh well, feels bad. I went to bed. Next day, get on. We're like, oh, let's try Paragon so we can talk about MOBAs next week. I'm like, yeah, this sounds good. All three of us are playing a game. I'm like, ooh, I'll try out this new champion. We were debating whether to do one more game or not, and I was like, yeah, I'll do one more game. Amber will do one more, and then she'll go to bed. Like, we'll be cool. Go and enjoy our MOBA experience. Jump into that, fucking attempting to reconnect after the game loads in, and I'm like, no, come on. This time it was out for like 45 minutes. So
yeah, I was really sad.
The answer is, I am not a smart man.
Yeah, I am not a smart man. But
I was
apparently, I called the Verizon, and they're like, yeah, your area's just been getting outages this week, and they fixed it like on Thursday.
Oh, so that
That's
means
good.
we can actually play Paragon tonight? Like, fucking that,
Man. Let me think. Might not like this moment. I don't know. This week has been extremely hectic. Oh, okay. Might not like this moment. Okay, so I applied to be a tournament admin next year for Blizzard and Tespa.
Oh god. I know what it is.
Beyond tilted. So like on Wednesday, I received a piece of bad news, and then I got an email from Tespa saying, "Hey Amber, we would like to offer you the position to become a TA on the Tespa team next year.
Shit.
Congratulations!" And I was just like, "Oh shit, this is great!" And then it's like, "I'm getting paid too." And then they emailed back 3 minutes later saying, "Oh, sorry, wrong email."
No!
Oh my god, fucking wrecked.
Holy shit.
I was like,
How though? Like, I don't understand.
That's
bitch,
so
what?
bad.
like
That's
bitch,
almost
what?
okay. That
Oh my
I
God.
would feel bad, but the thing that mitigates that is when I went to Hopkins, the year after I was accepted to Hopkins, they sent out I think it's close to 1,200 emails accepting people, and then right after we're like, lol, JK. To like 1,200 prospective students.
Holy shit.
It's been happening a lot to universities lately. I don't understand.
Yeah,
like,
they've been over like sending, and then they're just like, "Oh shit, sorry, wrong email."
That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently it's been it's a lot of universities, not just mine. But if like talk about fucking feel bad moments.
Yeah. Literally, like, he was just like, ignore that email, it was sent wrong. He had to send it twice. He was just like, and then I'm just like, why are you like this?
Time to lie down and just
Yeah.
never
But I'm
leave the
happy
house.
because one of my closest friends got it.
Yes.
You go, David.
Woo! I love David. I would have sex with him, man. Not because he's
that was
attractive,
descriptive.
but just because he has an amazing personality. Right? That's what you have sex with. I would have sex with his personality.
You're just trying to get
Can we
hookups
stop
at
talking
Tesco?
about like having sex with like one of my best friends?
It's his personality, Amber. Calm down.
You wanna fuck his personality.
You're being fucking childish, Amber. I'm talking about fucking his personality, okay? Just calm down.
No,
Anyways. Okay, might
I'm
not
just
like
gonna
this moment.
clip this segment on Twitch and send it to that guy.
no.
Oh no.
I'm not sending it to my president. Ex-president.
David, you're a great man, but I would not have sex with you.
Thank you.
Unless you were just an organic embodiment of your personality, then maybe.
Okay. Wait, are you saying he's like super ugly? What the
No, I'm not. I'm just saying like we're like friends, and it'd be really weird. Like I don't want to say I friend zone him, but you know.
Okay,
weird.
okay.
Even if he was
I don't-
interested,
He was
interested,
at the
I'd be like,
summit,
it's
Reza.
weird. Yeah,
I don't think there's. Yeah, I know.
Reza, it'd be like if
I
I were to
don't
be
think-
interested in you, it'd be very weird because we have this like friend connection, you know.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
Go to your
It's
not
also
like this
gay,
moment.
you know?
I think we should.
Damn.
Fuck.
Okay, might not like this moment. My not like this moment is pretty lame and tame this week compared to my previous both of my previous week poop adventures. Anyway,
Oh my god, we don't need to know any more about your poops.
I mean, honestly, I could probably do not like this moment just with my poop, but
can we not?
in
Please?
order to spare you guys from poops, my not like this moment was last night, really late at night, being asked to cover somebody at work for 8 a.m. to, and I was like, that's all right. But then I forgot I also worked 2 to 9, so I'm literally there from like 8 to 9, which is like, oh my god, people are so dumb in the pharmacy. Like, I want to quit that job just because people don't know what the they're talking about, and they it makes me angry. I come home and I've already like raged so much IRL that it's like it's impossible to rage in a game because I'm just all raged out. Just
You
like
don't have the heart.
I don't have the heart to rage anymore. Anyways, so I worked this
don't have a
13-hour
heart, Jenna.
shift, and I came home and did this podcast. So like, fuck, tired.
Yeah.
I'm on like my third energy drink right now, so I'm like pretty hyped for a while. But
Please
I'm
don't
gonna
die.
crash tonight. I'm gonna crash tonight and sleep
Yeah.
for like.
So
wanna
wake up,
sleep
have
for,
some
like,
good old like burgers, hot dogs.
I'm gonna
ketchup.
sleep like Ben Reese did. When
I don't
canceled
get that
his alarm.
reference, but
Dude, it was literally in this.
oh yeah, your roommate.
Fuck, dude.
I'm gonna try to wake up at 7:30 tomorrow.
I'll have a much more interesting not like this moment when I actually have like
An
the
interesting
mentality to like, because like all I've been doing is
Yeah.
working this last week, and I don't have the mentality to even know what's happening.
Yep.
My not like this
I get-
moment is having to work in a pharmacy, like literally just not
It's
like
just
this.
your life in general.
How
Oh,
many
damn.
do you guys do like dispense medical marijuana or?
No,
Can you hook a sister up?
no.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention I did apply for some labs, and I applied for a lab that works with.
So you'd be
Awesome.
working with yourself, Gucci.
So you get to like play League of Legends and then have the same people at your workplace.
Are
Yep.
you sure you're not gonna like put like rockets on said monkeys?
Oh, I was already talking about. I I think I was talking about this. Was it with you or
Yes,
Eric?
it was
I
with
was
me.
saying, yeah, it's a lab at MIT, so it's within the realm of speculation that I would be putting rocks on the key. That's all I'm saying.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I guess that wraps it up. Thank you to everyone who came out. The VODs will be up, I think, on Sunday. And the only reason why we did this today instead of our typical Tuesday is because these two Americans have
Gotta
to
celebrate my freedom, express my liberty.
America.
shag
Fuck
some
yeah.
eagles.
Hell yeah.
I don't fucking
Listen,
know, man.
it's fuck some eagles. We're in America. We don't shag. We fucking
Yeah, God.
declared our independence from that bullshit in like 1776. So.
You do you, Americans. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, and
All right, peace.
future episodes will be on Tuesdays. On the holiday.
Yeah.
Tuesday nights, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
I don't want to feel
Jafeel.
you. It's gross.
Anyways,
What about
thanks.
Mr. Stein?
Alright, thanks for coming out, and we'll see y'all next